Continuing on with my ride removal series, I thought I would talk about a park that some might think is currently safe, but I would have to disagree. In today's video, I'll be discussing which coaster is most likely to be removed next at King's Dominion. So, some of you might be thinking, King's Dominion just announced the demise of Volcano the Blast Coaster, so why would Cedar Fair consider removing another coaster from this park within the near future? Well, I believe that there's a couple contenders to consider. King's Dominion, especially now that Volcano is SB&O, has an unusual coaster lineup. The park has quite a few cloned attractions, dare I call it the Six Flags Park of the Cedar Fair chain. The list of cloned attractions would be Backlot Stunt Coaster, Flight of Fear, Racers 75, Woodstock Express, Apple's Apple, Great Pumpkin Coaster, which, well, it's a kiddie coaster, so not exactly fair to add it to this list. And finally, well, sort of Grizzly, but I won't include it. The park has three standout attractions, which is Intimidator 305, Twisted Timbers, and Dominator. I feel like Cedar Fair doesn't exactly know what to do with this park. Within the past 12 years, King's Dominion has removed 4 roller coasters and has only added 3. And I don't think the defunct coaster count is going to be stopping anytime soon. Alright, well, let's get to the list. Anaconda. Okay, this ride is more of a wish than I actually think will happen. Anaconda is an awful ride. It's rough, has lots of head banging, and the layout is just boring. But since this is an aero looping coaster, which are quite reliable, I don't see this park ripping it down anytime soon. Well, yes, not for a while at least. So for now, I think we'll just have to continue on ignoring this ride in the park. Grizzly. Since Hurler got the RMC treatment, I don't see that happening to the other wooden coasters in the park. I think we would eventually see a good retracking by GCI, hopefully, but I think this is another roller coaster that is safe. Avalanche. The most obvious of choices on this list is Avalanche. This toboggan-style roller coaster is rather old and outdated. There are not too many of these left in operation. I think this roller coaster could be one major maintenance breakdown from being a completely scrapped ride. Also, this ride is located right next to Volcano, which is set to be removed. I could see this coaster getting removed also to make way for a bigger attraction that would also encompass both lots. Avalanche has a bad ride capacity, so yeah, that's yet another mark against it. However, this is also a family ride, and I could see the park holding onto it because of that one thing. Flight of Fear Backlot Stunt Coaster could also be contenders for removal, but I think they're safe for now, especially Backlot Stunt Coaster. It's a good family coaster. Both rides have pretty reliable launching mechanisms. I think they actually use the same, both by Premier Rides. I'm pretty sure they're very similar at least. And since this coaster style is still pretty new, I'm pretty sure the parts aren't too hard to come by. So, all in all, Avalanche is the ride that I would keep my eye on, especially if the park decides to use that land currently occupied Volcano. In theory, we could see yet another roller coaster removed before a new one is built. Right now, I think Cedar Fair needs to figure out what they want to do with this park, because I feel like it's just limping along, even considering its recent addition, Twisted Timbers. I mean, it took 3 years before Hurler was officially transformed and opened as Twisted Timbers. So how long will we see Volcano sit defunct? Recently, I did just notice that there was I don't know if it's real or not, but I saw it floating around on Instagram and Facebook. There is a permit that's been approved for the demise and removal of Volcano, so it looks like they have a contract hired to come in and tear down the whole thing. So that's good, so hopefully we'll see something coming in sooner. But yeah, I think like Son of Beast at Kings Island sat defunct for 3 years as well before getting knocked down. So hopefully that isn't a rumor and that's actually real and we'll see this ride knocked down pretty soon. But anyways, yeah, maybe Avalanche has a few years left in it. So we'll just have to wait and see. It might sound a little weird, but King's Dominion is the amusement park in the Cedar Fair chain that I'm like the most concerned about when discussing its future. This used to be an amusement park that featured the latest and greatest that coaster engineering had to offer. Now I think they're just trying to find a good footing. This park is in direct competition with Busch Gardens. Both do focus slightly at different demographics of people, but they're both two big destinations that are only 1 hour apart. Now that SeaWorld chain is pulling out the big guns, especially in 2020, I could see why the local guests would rather travel further on over to Busch Gardens. Now, there is one other roller coaster I want to talk about that, well, I don't think it's going to get removed, but something to bring up, and that's Intimidator 305. This ride was built to be the marquee attraction at this park, and it really should have been. Now, some of you are kind of curious because in the coaster enthusiast world, this ride is very popular. Some people rank this as their number one. However, the local GP seemed to not like this ride. It is very intense, and it was actually even more intense when it opened, especially with that first turn. So that first year was actually pretty rough. They had to add those brake fins on the first drop to slow it down to make it more bearable for your average rider. But again, those things stick in people's heads, and so a lot of the local audience have a tainted view of Intimidator 305. So unfortunately, it's never been that big marquee attraction, and I don't think the park ever really got the payout that they were looking for. Thus why I think King's Dominion has been kind of like in this rut. Do I think they would remove Intimidator 305? No. Do I think they would like to? In some ways, if they had the budget and the funds, I think that I could see them being like, yeah, let's get rid of it and build something that they really want, that the GP would be really psyched for. Again, they're really not aiming towards coaster enthusiasts. We're not the big crowd that comes in. They want their general public, the people that they're aiming for. Just something to consider. Yes, I don't think Intimidator 305 is going anywhere. So, what do you think? Could Avalanche be the next coaster to get the axe? Let me know in the comments. Also, let me know which park you would like me to discuss about which coaster could get the axe next. As always, stay tuned for more great content coming from Extreme Thrills.